Oh, I think it might actually be. Nope, there's no countdown. Hi. Welcome, welcome. I mistakenly didn't put in the 30-second countdown. So welcome. Hi
Here we are.
everyone. And welcome back. And my name is Melissa, and I'm the founder and executive director of Breezy Heart Foundation. And it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and welcome new ones as we continue our transformative Anchor to Rise Mindset and Resilience series. And so, to our first time participants, welcome. Every session in this series delivers powerful standalone insights and practical tools designed to help you build resilience and navigate life's challenges with greater ease. And so if you missed them, if you weren't able to check out our last session, our past sessions, our last session dove into topics like when speaking up felt like a threat and recognizing the voice inside your head isn't you. So please feel free to check those out and add your questions to the chat at any point, and we'll answer them during our Q&A at the end of our time together.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm Jill McKnight. Hello, everyone. Founder and CEO of Locate Coaching and a trauma-informed life coach. It's absolutely wonderful to be here with you all again. Last time, we talked about when speaking up feels like a threat and how internal freezing and disappearing can quietly erode our trust in our own voices. If you weren't with us, no worries at all. Each session stands alone, offering specific tools you can use right away.
Yes. And so raise your hand if you've ever felt that physically sick after saying no. I mean, that powerful, gut-wrenching reaction isn't random. It's actually a trauma response. And our goal today is to rewire it, because when we lack boundaries, we betray ourselves. And honestly, that comes at a high cost, such as burnout and resentment, and honestly, a loss of self-trust.
Today, we're going to tackle a deeply ingrained challenge for many: why no feels like betrayal. This session is crucial because for so many of us, setting boundaries, especially saying no to demands from others, whether it's at work, with family, or in social circles, can trigger intense feelings of guilt, shame, or even a profound sense that we're letting someone down, or worse, betraying our own sense of being what we think of as a good person. We'll uncover why this happens, how these feelings are often rooted in past experiences, and how they subtly keep us from protecting our time, energy, and well-being. Our powerful tool for today is the Boundary Language Builder, which offers practical scripts and a guilt decoder to help you assert your limits with confidence. The word no can feel like a weapon, when in reality, it's a shield. For those who've learned that their value comes from being compliant, agreeable, or endlessly helpful, I suffer from that one, endlessly helpful, saying no can genuinely feel like an act of betrayal, betraying expectations, perceived duties, or even the love or approval they've historically sought. This feeling isn't a flaw in your character. It's a learned response to environments where your boundaries weren't honored, or where saying no had negative repercussions.
Exactly. And just a reminder, this topic can touch on some sensitive areas, things from your past or even your current work dynamics. So please prioritize your well-being during this session. Make sure if you need to, you step away, breathe, or take notes, whatever you need. Your self-care truly does come first here.
Yes, absolutely. Remember, this is about empowering you. Every time you reflect or engage, you're building a stronger internal foundation. There's no expectation to share anything you're not ready for.
All right, so let's start with a quick pulse check. Have you ever wanted to say no, but the word just felt stuck? Or maybe you ended up saying yes from a deeper sense of guilt or obligation? If so, drop a heart in the chat. And now, if you've ever said no and then spent hours or days feeling absolutely terrible about it, second guessing yourself like you've done something wrong, then give us a broken heart in the chat and tell us what resonates with you. Thank you for your silent reflections and any thoughts you choose to share in the chat. Okay, so that feeling of being frozen when you first want to say no, or that crushing guilt that washes over you afterwards, it's incredibly common, but it also feels isolating, doesn't it? Like a personal feeling. But here's the truth, it's not.
That's right. It's not. That intense guilt or sense of betrayal is often a protective mechanism, a warning system learned from environments where setting boundaries led to negative consequences. It might have been parental disapproval, job insecurity, or even the loss of a relationship. Your system learned that saying no means trouble. So, what happens is guilt activates the brain's pain centers. When you're conditioned to equate no with danger, your body reacts as if it's being threatened. Imagine guilt as a smoke alarm blaring in a safe room. We're going to reset that alarm today. Our goal today isn't to force you to say no to everything. It's to help you recognize why it feels so difficult and to give you tools to navigate that internal resistance so you can choose when and how to protect your time and energy. So, why does this simple act of saying no often carry such a heavy emotional weight? It feels almost like an act of betrayal. There are 4 reasons that we're going to talk about for that. The first is learned compliance. Many of us were praised for being easygoing, helpful, or team players. Saying no might have been implicitly or explicitly discouraged, leading to an internalized belief that our value is tied to our accommodating nature. The second, fear of consequences. We fear disappointing others, losing approval, facing conflict, or even suffering professional repercussions, like being seen as not committed or difficult. The third, misplaced responsibility. We might feel overly responsible for others' feelings or outcomes, believing that if we don't do it, no one else will, or that we're letting someone down personally. This is particularly true in professional settings where workloads are often high. And the fourth, internalized messages. The deepest root is often an internalized message that our needs are secondary, or that prioritizing ourselves is selfish. Saying no then feels like a betrayal of the good person we're supposed to be. This creates a vicious cycle. We say yes out of fear of guilt, then we resent it, which leads to burnout. But the fear of betrayal keeps us from breaking that pattern. The cost of this is a constant yes, and it is immense. It chips away at your sense of self-worth, leaving you feeling depleted, resentful, and unseen. You start to feel like your time and energy aren't truly your own. In a professional context, it can lead to burnout, missed personal events, and a feeling that you're constantly putting out fires instead of doing meaningful work. That inner conflict becomes palpable, the desire for peace versus the urgent need for boundaries.
Yeah. So let's take a moment of reflection. And so, what I'd like to ask is for you to think about a time, perhaps at work, or with a friend, or even within your family, when you really struggled to say no. And then afterwards, you were hit with that deep sense of guilt, maybe even feeling like you'd betrayed yourself. In that moment, what was being asked of you? And then, what specific thoughts or feelings surfaced for you in that moment? Just take a deep breath and notice what comes up. If you feel comfortable, share it in the chat or simply keep it to yourself because truly, honestly, recognizing these patterns is the first crucial step towards making a change. And as always, we so appreciate your silent reflections and any thoughts you shared in the chat.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Your experience is valid. This feeling of betrayal isn't an overreaction. It's a symptom of a system that learned to prioritize other needs over its own, often at great personal cost. Today, we're going to help you decouple saying no from feeling like a bad person.
Okay, so let's look at a story that illustrates how deeply ingrained this no equals betrayal dynamic can be, especially in a professional setting. And so this story is about Patricia and her struggle to protect her boundaries at work. Okay, so Patricia is a dedicated account manager known for her thorough work and willingness to help out. Her boss, Brenda, is often demanding, frequently sending urgent emails late into the evening, expecting immediate responses. And so it's Thursday, and Patricia is finally leaving the office to attend her son's school play, a rare event she's promised not to miss. As she steps out, Brenda calls. Brenda states, does not ask. Patricia, I need you to pull together these updated renderings for the client. They want them by morning. Now, Patricia feels a sense of dread. She knows this means an all nighter. A familiar feeling settles in her stomach. And I want you to notice Patricia's feelings in her stomach. I want you to think about that. That's her body signaling a boundary violation. So let's decode these cues. Her first thought is to say, I can't, Brenda, I have a family commitment. But then a wave of guilt comes over her. This isn't just about disappointing Brenda. It's a familiar feeling from her past that makes her stomach tighten. So, growing up, Patricia learned that her sense of worth and security depended on her ability to meet others' needs. Her mother was often anxious and would interpret Patricia's childhood attempts at boundary setting, such as a simple no to a chore or wanting quiet time, as a personal rejection. Her mother would also often stonewall her or give her the silent treatment as a form of retaliation for not acquiescing or blindly complying, almost like an unspoken loyalty test. And so Patricia quickly learned it was easier just to give her what she wanted. Asserting her own needs would lead to emotional distance or a sense of disappointment, making her feel responsible for her mother's unhappiness. And because of this, her developing mind concluded saying no meant she was bad, unloving, or an unlovable person, and actively disrupting the balance of her home. Now, even as an adult, that feeling of causing someone's distress or being seen as disloyal surfaces. The thought of saying no to Brenda brings back that learned fear of being seen as unloved or unlovable or a burden, making her feel like she's betraying not just her boss, but the childhood need to be good and necessary. And so Patricia reflects, if I say no, Brenda will think I'm not committed, that I'm letting the team down. She might even see me as disloyal. What if it impacts my review? I'm betraying her trust, betraying my professionalism, maybe even betraying my family by risking my job. With this reflection in mind, Patricia says, okay, Brenda, I'll take care of it. So let's pause here for a moment and break this down.
Yes, thanks, Melissa. Let's zoom in on this moment. Her first thought was to say, I can't tonight, Brenda. I have a family commitment. But then that wave of guilt came over her. If I say no, Brenda will think I'm not committed and that I'm letting the team down. She might even see me as disloyal. What if it impacts my review? I'm betraying her trust, betraying my professionalism, maybe even betraying my family by risking my job. Patricia's initial healthy impulse to set a boundary was immediately overridden by a strong sense of guilt. This guilt isn't just about disappointing Brenda, rather. It's layered. It's tied to her professional identity by being not committed or disloyal. Her fear of the negative consequences where it could impact her review, and even a sense of protecting her family by sacrificing her personal life. She perceives saying no as a betrayal of Brenda, her work, and her perceived duty to her family. This internal conflict is so difficult, showing how the desire to be good or responsible can hold us back.
Okay, so let me pause here and ask, how do you think it feels to have your own mind convince you that saying no to an unreasonable demand is an act of betrayal, especially when it impacts something deeply important like family time? Please leave your thoughts or reflections in the chat. And we so appreciate your silent reflections too.
Yeah. Thank you. We do appreciate all of your reflections. So valuable. Now let's look at the consequence of that internal struggle. Patricia says, okay, Brenda, I'll take care of it. What if instead Patricia said, Brenda, I'm offline for a family commitment until tomorrow. I'll prioritize renderings at 9 a.m. How might that shift her guilt? Patricia gave in. She put aside her promised family time, her personal well-being, and her boundary, all driven by that mix of fear and perceived betrayal. This isn't just a one-off yes. Each time she says yes under pressure, it reinforces the message that her needs are secondary, that her boundaries are flexible, and that the guilt of saying no is too strong to overcome. This slowly affects her self-trust and creates resentment. The betrayal she fears inflicting on others becomes a deep betrayal of herself.
That's right. And what happens to a person's sense of self-worth and well-being when they constantly override their own needs due to the fear of betraying others' expectations? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, Patricia's story really highlights how deeply that fear of betrayal can manifest, turning a simple boundary into a significant dilemma. This isn't about being weak. It's about deeply ingrained patterns of compliance and responsibility.
Okay. So now that we've explored Patricia's experience and the roots of no betrayal as a betrayal, let's engage in an interactive exercise to help us reframe this feeling. So, this is called a guilt reframe prompt. So, in the chat, finish this sentence. When I say no, I fear I'm betraying fill in the blank. Now, replace that word with protecting my blank. So, an example of this might be when I say no, I fear I'm betraying my team. And so you could replace it with protecting my health. And so just give you about 5 seconds here. And we so appreciate your silent reflections and any thoughts you share in the chat.
Building on what Melissa shared about why no feels like betrayal, it's crucial to understand the deeper, often trauma-informed conditioning at play. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a learned survival mechanism. Name the conditioning. This betrayal guilt often stems from a couple of different things. The fawn trauma response, prioritizing others to survive. When saying no historically led to negative or unsafe outcomes, our nervous system learns to appease, comply, and prioritize other needs to maintain safety or connection. The second is conditioned self-abandonment, where those internalized messages, your need, become like your needs are a burden. Over time, if your needs were consistently dismissed or met with resentment, you internalize the belief that your boundaries are an inconvenience. Saying no then feels like abandoning your duty to be constantly available or helpful. Recognizing these patterns helps us depersonalize the guilt. It's not about who you are, but what you've learned.
Exactly. And so now that we understand why no feels so loaded and the trauma informed roots of this guilt, let's turn to a practical tool that can help us navigate these challenging moments. And in this example, this tool is called the Boundary Language Builder. So this tool provides simple, direct phrases to set boundaries, combined with a way to decode the guilt that often follows.
Yeah, the tool is designed to help you craft clear, concise ways to set your limits while also giving you a powerful framework to process the common wave of guilt that can arise. Let's walk through it together. First, when applying the tool, you'll want to identify your core need. What is the specific boundary you're trying to set? What are you protecting? Your time, energy, well-being, another commitment? So be clear on that. Then you'll choose a plug and play phrase. Use simple, direct language. You're not required to provide lengthy explanations or apologies. You can say something like, I'm not available for that right now. My plate is full, so I'll have to decline. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't take that on. I have a prior commitment. And remember, you don't have to specify what it is. And lastly, maybe say something like, I need to protect my evenings or weekends for family time. Beyond these initial phrases, we also have scripts for common traps you might encounter when setting these boundaries. Here are a couple of examples of those common traps and how to navigate them with new scripts. For guilt tripping, for example, instead of saying, I guess I can, you can try instead, I can't commit without compromising my priorities right now. When facing urgency or pressure, move away from, fine, I'll do it, and instead try, my earliest capacity for that would be, and fill in the date and time that works for you. And then you can follow it up with, would that work? And when that familiar wave of guilt hits after you've asserted yourself, that's what's going to happen. Here's how to use the guilt decoder. When the guilt hits after you've set the boundary, ask yourself, what is this guilt actually protecting me from? Is it a real consequence or a perceived threat? Is this guilt serving my highest good or an old program trying to keep me compliant? What would true self-betrayal look like if I didn't set this boundary? Remember, often the guilt is misleading. The real betrayal is against yourself. We also have a pushback response bank. If they insist, I hear you need this urgently, my boundary remains firm. Let's discuss alternatives. This tool empowers you to speak your truth without over explaining or apologizing. It helps you see that your boundaries are an act of self-care, not betrayal. The guilt decoder then helps you untangle the emotional knots that try to pull you back into compliance patterns. Remember, the betrayal isn't your no. It's in your yes when you mean no. This practice actively strengthens your ability to protect yourself and honor your needs, building emotional resilience.
Okay, so let's take a moment and think about one boundary you'd like to set or strengthen. What's a phrase you could use, and how could you decode the guilt if it arises? You can share in the chat if you're comfortable, or simply hold it privately. And as always, we appreciate your silent reflections and any thoughts you share in the chat. So here we go. As we get ready to wrap up our core content, we will be collecting your input directly in the chat. Your feedback is incredibly important for us to continue offering these sessions and to demonstrate the important impact of our work for future grants. And so, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being strongly agree and 1 being strongly disagree, please share in the chat how confident you feel now about asserting your boundaries after today's session. And for anyone catching this as a pre-recorded session, please share in the comments below how has today's discussion on why no feels like betrayal shifted your perspective on setting boundaries. And your feedback is invaluable as we develop more resources and seek funding to expand this crucial work. And so, thank you for your, I'm so sorry. I went back a little bit too far. Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you all for your incredible openness and courage today. And this journey about reclaiming your no is deeply personal and incredibly empowering.
It absolutely is. Saying no to others is saying yes to your wholeness. What if betrayal is actually loyalty to the self? Remember, your boundaries are not acts of betrayal. They are acts of self-care. They are a declaration that your time, energy, and well-being matter. As we close, I invite you to carry this truth with you. Your boundaries are your strength, and they are essential for your well-being.
They are. And so tonight, I encourage you to use one script from the builder and notice the guilt wave and ride it like a surfer, not a victim. And so next session, we'll explore how guilt transforms into empowerment.
This session, like the rest of the Resilience to Rebuild series, is just a doorway, a first step. If this work speaks to you, if something inside of you is waking up, we invite you to go deeper with us in the full Anchor to Rise coaching program. Anchor to Rise is a 12-session journey for anyone ready to stop fighting and start truly living their truth. You'll gently let go of old survival habits, reconnect with your voice, and build the kind of self-trust that doesn't crumble when life gets tough.
Exactly. And the Anchor to Rise coaching program is a guided experience for both men and women ready to stop hiding and start showing up as their full selves. If you've ever felt silenced by your family, your job, or your past, this program was made for you. And you'll learn to let go of survival strategies that no longer serve you, feel safe being seen, and trust yourself again. And with practical tools and supportive coaching, you'll move from self doubt to self leadership, from invisibility to impact, and you'll move from feeling invisible to making an impact, from feeling burned out to having clear direction, and from asking, "Who am I to do this?" to confidently saying, "I know who I am."
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to do that by taking you through 3 key phases that are designed to be a comprehensive and transformative journey. Phase 1 is foundations of authentic visibility. And they're going to include learning how invisibility became a form of safety and how to gently outgrow it. Reclaim your voice and take up space without guilt. Let go of the good girl rules and practice speaking your needs. Define who you truly are beyond performance or pressure, and build confidence even when self doubt creeps in. In phase 2, we're going to look at deepening emotional leadership, where we release the need to perform and connect from your authentic self. Stay grounded when others disapprove or misunderstand you, and replace constant struggle with more ease, flow, and clarity. Now, phase 3 is going to cover the authentic leadership and legacy. Learn to trust yourself in uncertainty and make aligned choices. Use your voice to create meaningful change in your life and beyond. Inspire others just by being your true self. The ripple effect begins with you. And craft a legacy that reflects your purpose and your values. This program helps you to heal, grow, and become more confident in who you are. If you're ready to continue this work and build a life that feels truly yours, we invite you to join Anchor to Rise.
Thank you, Jill. And also, don't miss out on updates and future program dates. And so, join our email list to be notified when new dates are announced. We will post that link to the email sign up in the chat and in the video description. And with that, I just want to say thank you for showing up so fully today. This is for you, for your healing and for your growth. And that's not a small thing by any means. It's brave and genuinely meaningful. This work demands real courage. It's tough to look back and name the times you've disappeared or shrunk yourself down just to get by. And envisioning a future where you don't have to do that anymore. Well, sometimes that's even harder. But the very fact that you are here right now, willing to be present, to think, to be open, that's what truly counts. That marks a powerful beginning.
Absolutely. A more real life is possible. It doesn't need big, dramatic changes. It starts with small, steady moments like this one. Each time you pause to notice what you need, each time you choose to speak kindly to yourself instead of silencing your truth, each time you take up just a little more space than you did the day before, you are rewriting your story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we finish today, I want you to remember this, not just as words, but a living reminder. You are allowed to take up space, even if you're still learning how, even if your voice shakes, even if you're not entirely sure, your presence matters, your needs matter, and your truth is worth honoring.
We are so grateful you joined us. We hope today gave you something real to hold on to, something that helps you feel grounded, and reminds you that your rise starts here. Your rise matters, and we'd love to support you along the way. Be sure to check out our other free sessions and group coaching events by signing up to be added to our mailing list.
And so with that, thank you all so much for joining us today for this session. We're so glad that you were here, and we look forward to seeing you at our next one. And you'll find a link to the sign up for our email list in the chat right now. And it will also be available in the video description for this recording. So thanks again, everyone, for being with us during this session, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Sign up. Let me just get that in there before we close. Hold on just a second. Here we go.
I added it as well, Melissa.
Oh, thank you so much.
I popped it in the chat. Yeah.
But they were having some technical. Oh, wonderful. There we go. Yay. I'm just going to put it on the screen here so everyone can see. It's right there in the chat. Thank you all again, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.